Good morning, and welcome. My name is Tracy, and I'm from Knitwerks, and you are knitting with me. Happy weekend. If you're like me and you're off Saturday and Sunday, you work Monday through Friday, um, it might be a long weekend. There is supposed to be snow for us here in Virginia. I don't know about where you are, but it's supposed to be a massive storm. So we're looking 10 to 12 inches right now. We'll see what actually comes of it, but I'm pretty sure I'm not going to work on Monday. I do have my laptop, so I will be working from home, but I'll get to enjoy watching the kids sled down the hill, and maybe I can take some breaks to work on some crafty stuff. I have not been taking my lunches because it's been ketchup, 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 and that's not the red sauce. That is work is flying in. So in the meantime, I am knitting my swatch for the Sode sweater. I've talked about that before, and it is complicated. I wanted to start this on January 1st and hoping to start the year off knitting this amazing project, but I knitted the swatch, started it off, couldn't find my row counter, and it wound up coming up too small. Now, normally I knit very loosely, so I am used to it being too big and having to go down a needle size or two. This time I had to go up one. So this is the sweater. It's a sewed sweater. It is a lot of cables. There are two ways to knit the gauge swatch. You can do it in the ribbing, or you can do it in the shoulder cable gauge. And I looked at that chart and I went, I'm doing the ribbon. You're probably supposed to do it in both, but that's not happening. We should just be glad I'm doing a gauge swatch at all. I don't have my little row counter. I have no idea what happened to it. I ordered another set in different sizes, and I'm just going to have to count rows. But so far, I am knitting this up using size 6 needles, I believe. And I have this nifty tool that you can find online. It is a Prim, P-R-Y-M, knitting calculator and counting frame. I still don't know exactly how to use it, except that this is supposed to be 10 centimeters. And it's 10 centimeters. Oh, I might be stretching it out a little bit. I should go up another side. No, I think it'll be fine. I think it's okay. I'll just keep my gauge loose, which is no problem for me. It's usually a struggle to try and keep it tight. So I'll be able to do it my own natural way. But I do want to see it for length because it's not like I can just knit more. There is an actual cable pattern that I'd have to repeat if I want to make it longer. I'm going to keep doing this. In the meantime, there are a few other things that I've been doing. So I am, once again, trying to learn more about knitting. I'm going to put these aside. So I did borrow this book, The Principles of Knitting, Methods and Techniques of Hand Knitting by June Hemmons Hyatt. Borrowed this from my library. And I'm reading this before I go to bed, so I just read a couple pages at a time. I haven't gotten very far, but it is a detailed description of, they have stitch position, tensioning, knitting directions, right-handed, left-handed, errors like drop stitches, split stitches. It is fascinating. They even have Portuguese knitting where you have a belt sheath pin and you knit that way. So there's continental knitting where you hold the yarn in your left hand. There is, and you're flicking the yarn. That's what I do if you see me on the video. There is English style knitting where you hold it with your right hand and you throw it around. And then there is Portuguese knitting where you hold the yarn under your armpit. You hold the needle. You have a pin on your shirt and you sort of pull it around your neck and knit that way. I've never tried it, but it is another method of doing things. So that is fascinating. And I'm looking at specialized cast-offs, different stitches, design details. Fascinating. A lot to go through. Hopefully nobody else in the library wants it in the next year. I did the same thing where I was really into spinning. So basically you take fiber, I was using wool, and you put twist in it to make it into yarn. You twist it and then you twist two or more together. That's called plying. And you create a strong piece of yarn that's hard to break. And what I did was I first borrowed the Alden Amos book of hand spinning. I'm looking at it right now. And then I wound up buying it for myself off of a third-party website. Might have been Goodwill because it's out of print, and spent well over $100 on that book. It's a lot. But I would bet this would probably be about the same issue. Maybe not out of print because more people knit than spin. So the other projects that I'm working on, get to the end of the row. So I made a hat out of this wool of the Andes. This is the Celestial colorway, and I'll show it on the screen. What I did was I made a brimmed hat with size 5 needles for my middle child in the same way as the one I made for my youngest, which was made out of the blue. Can't remember the colorway, but it was like a light blue. So what I did was I knit a cabled brim, not a cabled, ribbed brim, 2 by 2. So knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, purl 2, which I'm doing again on this, and you can see. And then after about 1.5 to 2 inches, I switched to stockinette, which is when you're knitting in the round, it's all knitting. And I did that. I measured it on his head, and I did it until it was about this far off his head. At which point I take a tapestry needle, which I just threw to the ground, and go ahead and go through all the stitches. I didn't decrease for it. I just left all the stitches, and I pulled it, cinched it tight, sewed it together many times because I don't want that coming apart for anything. And I wound up sewing his pom-pom on. Show you pictures. He bought that at the yarn store. Those are the colors he wanted. It goes very well with this. And I've also knit him a sweater in the same yarn. This is all I have left. So I wanted to do more color work with the wool of the Andes. So I have left over pink, blue, green, gray. We'll see what I have left when I'm done with all of my wool of the Andes patterns. Probably not something I'm going to buy again. It is itchy against the skin and very warm. I might be worthwhile for bags and scarves and hats. Maybe like the Sode overcoat. I will be making the bubble jacket from Petite Knits. That's probably the project I should have picked next instead of the Sode, but I'm committed. I've started. I've gauge swatched. We're going with it. That might take 6 months to a year to complete. It is complicated. So this is wool of the Andes. This is the hat, and it's a basic recipe. This one I cast on 92. I might have to redo it. It might be a little too big. I think this one I cast on 76 or 80, and I'll show you the picture. But it's one of those ones that you can pull out, redo. It's a quick project, easy to fix. Hats are great. I can't wait to do the Musselburgh. That's going to be my next very plain vanilla pattern to when I'm doing something so complicated with cables. It's something to switch off to. And I have plenty of yarn that will go with it, including ones that I just purchased, which is the um, alpaca from Alpaca Cloud Lace. I'll hold 2 strands together from Knitwerks, and I'm going to use my college colors, which are red and gold. And that is, we're coming to my final project that I'm working on, which is my college logo. Still not enough. I promise it's not enough. I've been doing this at work, and it's a good thing to change crafts, especially if you're doing one very intensely, like knitting. For instance, right now, starting yesterday, I have pain coming down right here. I have had it where it's gotten so bad that I haven't been able to knit for 6 months to a year. I don't want it to get that bad, so I'm thinking about changing up my crafts and not doing one so intensely. I've had it come down here, like tennis elbows, and it's really made my life unhappy when I can't participate in the things that help my mental health, my overall well-being, and that goal-oriented, maybe ADHD brain. I can't sit and not be doing anything. I don't want to be sitting playing games on my phone because at least with these projects, I have something to show for it at the end. But that's the way I work. Um, People tell me to slow down. I don't slow down. All I do is change lanes. So this is what I'm doing. I do not like this fabric. This is from Michaels. I've been working on this for several weeks now. I like the regular Aida, and I've gone ahead and ordered from Amazon pre-gridded fabric with gold filament in it. So you pull that out, and I misgridded this. So not only do I have to try and follow the pattern, but now I have to ignore my own gridding because it's not in the right places. It's not a perfect 10 by 10. And look, I found my needle minder. There is a needle somewhere in my house. So I hope nobody steps on it with bare feet or socked feet. But it is what it is. That's what happens when you don't have a needle minder. You lose needles. So that is my story right now. We have gone through we're on day 4 of January and day 4 of goals. I have a habit tracker both on my phone and on my paper planner, which is going to keep me organized this year, one way or another. And I'm doing intermittent fasting, I'm doing keto, I'm trying to drink more, I'm trying to meditate and exercise. And I also included crafts as one of my trackers because I do feel better after doing that. One thing I do when I go into the office is I'll bring a project and I'll sit there for 10 minutes, and it kind of allows my mind to work out what I'm going to be doing for that day. And I'll just add the extra step of actually writing it down while I'm doing it. So I think we're in good shape for 2025. Casting on project soon. This, once I'm satisfied that the length is within gauge, within reason, I might actually have to knit this one in my size because it is not wider. Usually mine are wider, and then I can increase the length. This is a very complicated cable panels, so I can't just knit more, although I can make the ribbing a little bit longer. There are a few little tricks that I can add to it. I would really like to get to the point where I could design patterns, at least for myself. I have a few patterns from when I was a beginner. And these are things like, this is how beginner: iPod case, my Kindle case, a soap on a rope holder. So I can do it. I can do simple projects. I can make up the recipe for the hat, but it's never going to be like the people that you purchase patterns from, where they are edited and tested and for multiple sizes. Mine would be more like knitting recipes, ideas, things you can work off of when you've had enough experience with patterns, or you just have that creative spark. So that's it for today. I am meeting up with somebody to knit with them. So once I'm done with the swatch, I'm going to put this down, give my hands a little break, and I'll probably knit the hat with her because I don't want to mess up the beginning of the sweater. The sweater is going to be a quiet time when the kids aren't around and the husband isn't around, and I can have perfect focus. That's going to be my challenge for January, maybe for the year. Looks like the most complicated one I picked out. Just wanted to say hello today, go over my projects and the beginning of January. I will meet you next time. Happy knitting, and thank you for joining me. If you have any questions, you can see my website, which is knitwerks.com, or email me at knitwerks@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. Have a great day. Happy knitting.